First question, why now?
It would be rude to say why not, but this is something that started, I understand, in 1959. At the time, we were unable to be accepted because we didn't have the 5 regulation international sports which was required. That was achieved, and in the late 80s, the late Louis Triay started or restarted the Gibraltarian Olympic Committee, and Gibraltarian came from the beginning, and that's been kept. And he and Nigel Pardo drove this committee, of which I had the honor of being a member, to almost becoming members. Unfortunately, the regulations or the rules for admission were changed at the time to only sovereign countries, whereas there were about 24 members of the Olympic movement that were not and are not sovereign countries, are still there. But to answer your question, once we were categorically told no, we wanted to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, but the Court of Arbitration for Sport is an IOC court, so they wouldn't even take us. And we ended up in a Swiss federal court, and again, their ruling was that if we wanted to participate in the Olympics, we could do so under the GB and Northern Ireland banner, which we don't agree, and I can tell you later. And everything went kind of cold until recently, when there was a meeting convened by the Minister for Sports, and it was shown that there was an appetite to revive this whole thing, and this is where we are.
Right, so some people might say Gibraltar, we're not a country, we recognise we're a British territory. We have, in 2012, Georgina Cassar, as a Gibraltarian, competed in the Olympic Games under the banner of Team GB. Why would we be entitled to it? Some might say it's Gibraltar's too small, but you'd be quick to correct them. Why do you think that Gibraltar should be entitled to it?
The Olympic movement has about over 20 countries which are not countries. The biggest is Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a Commonwealth of the United States, but they participate in their own right. Hong Kong participated when they were a British colony and continue to participate as Hong Kong SAR, self-administrative region of China. But then you've got people exactly like us. You've got Bermuda, you've got the Cayman Islands, you've got British Virgin Islands on the American side, US Virgin Islands, and I could go on, but I'd be wasting your time. The thing is that this was admitted before if you could prove sports independence. We have no less than 13 sports which are Olympic sports federated.
Do we have the caliber?
The caliber is immaterial because the Olympic Games attracts thousands of athletes, and a minute percentage of them have the caliber to go for medals. But if you don't compete, you don't know whether you have the caliber or not. And it's not just the Olympic Games that we want to participate in. By belonging to the International Olympic Committee, you have access to things like the Mediterranean Games, and you have access to an even more tailor-made event for us, which is the small states of Europe. And let me tell you one thing, we would never, in my opinion, be able to participate in the Olympic Games as a team sport, because team sports in the Olympics are limited to 12 regionally, but yes, to individuals. But the other two I've mentioned have team sports, and I mean, our football players, our hockey players, our basketball players would do very well in those games.
Mr. Gonçalves, so much more to talk about. I promise I will sit down with you regrettably, maybe perhaps a time with fewer time constraints. Thanks you very much for joining us, and we'll hear more about this in future.
Thank you.